I flew 7,000 km based on months of intense online connection with a girl I'd never met. Her behavior instantly changed the moment I arrived, leaving me with a sinking feeling. Prepare for one of the most awkward and uncomfortable nights of my life. You won't believe what happened. October 2025. That's when it started. A stupid, improbable spark across 7,000 kilometers. I was scrolling through some niche photography forum, lamenting the gray skies of Seattle, when I saw her post, a vibrant, saturated image of a bougainvillea spilling over a balcony. The backdrop, a hazy green mountain range. The caption was simple: my refugio, my refuge. I commented something generic about the light, and she replied, "It's the best light in the world here." Her name was Isabella. That's the name she told me, anyway. It sounded like something out of a Gabriel Garcia Marquez novel, and I immediately felt a ridiculous, pathetic surge of romanticism. I'm a data analyst. I deal in spreadsheets and algorithms. Romance is supposed to be messy, unpredictable, not something you find in a forum thread about aperture settings. But there it was. We started talking. Small talk at first. Photography, travel, the usual online pleasantries. But it quickly escalated. Within a week, we were exchanging long, rambling messages, staying up until 3 a.m. My time, 9 a.m. Hers, the time difference was brutal, but I found myself rearranging my life around those fleeting hours of connection. I'd skip gym sessions, cancel plans with friends, anything to keep the conversation flowing. Then came the voice calls. I'm generally uncomfortable talking on the phone. I prefer the buffer of text, the ability to curate my responses. But Isabella's voice, it was like warm honey, laced with a slight melodic accent. She had a way of phrasing things, a cadence that felt both familiar and entirely new. I started craving it. I needed it. 4 months. We talked for 4 months, nearly every single day. Sometimes it would bleed into 4 or 5 hours a day. I'd tell her about my day, the frustrating meetings, the lukewarm coffee, the rain that seemed to perpetually cling to Seattle. She'd tell me about her life in Medellin, her family, her dreams of becoming a graphic designer, the vibrant chaos of her neighborhood. I felt like I knew her, really knew her. And that's the dangerous part, isn't it? The feeling of knowing someone you've never physically met. The intensity wasn't just on my end. There were moments, subtle at first, that made me uneasy. She'd express frustration with her friends, her family, anyone who dared to occupy her attention. She'd say things like, "I just want you to understand how much I need you." Or the ones that really stuck with me, "I want you to be mine. I want you just for myself." It was possessive, bordering on unsettling. I brushed it off. I told myself she was just expressive. That Latin American culture was different. I compartmentalized it, pushing the niggling doubts to the back of my mind. After all, I was the one building this entire fantasy. I was the one choosing to invest so heavily in a relationship that existed solely in the digital realm. The uncertainty gnawed at me. The constant questioning. Was this real? Was I projecting my desires onto a carefully constructed persona? I told myself I was being paranoid, cynical, but the distance, the lack of physical presence, it amplified every doubt, every insecurity. And then, stupidly, irrationally, I bought the ticket. I remember staring at the confirmation email, my hand trembling. 800, more than a month's rent. For what? To meet a woman I only knew through a screen. My friends thought I was insane. My family tried to talk me out of it, but I couldn't detach. It felt imperative, like something inside me was unraveling if I didn't. I justified it to myself. It's just a trip, just a chance to see if there's something real there. A cowardly, conditional hope. A few days ago, I landed in Medellin. The heat hit me like a wall, thick and humid. The city was a sensory overload, the smells of street food, the vibrant colors, the constant hum of traffic. Everything felt so alive, so different from the muted gray of Seattle. And Isabella. Isabella started acting differently. The daily, hours-long calls dwindled to sporadic messages. Her replies became shorter, colder. The warmth, the playful banter, it vanished. She'd say she was busy, that her phone was acting up. Excuses. I felt it in my gut. We still had the dinner plan. I clung to it, desperate for some semblance of the connection I thought we had. I told myself I was being dramatic, that the stress of the upcoming meeting was affecting her. Last night, I ordered an Uber. ID had a shot of whiskey to steady my nerves. It didn't help. As I waited, I replayed every conversation, every message, searching for clues, for signs. Now, looking back, I probably should have listened to that little voice whispering in the back of my head, the one that screamed, "Run." I saw her standing across the street, bathed in the warm glow of a street lamp, and that's when the doubt solidified into something cold and hard. She was different, not just physically, although she was undeniably beautiful, even more so than ID imagined, but something in her eyes. The spark was gone, replaced by a guardedness, a detachment that felt profoundly unsettling. The days leading up to our meeting were a low hum of anxiety ID tried to rationalize away. ID arrived in Medellin 3 days earlier, giving myself a buffer for jet lag and a chance to acclimate. But the city, vibrant and alive in photos, felt muted in person. And Isabella felt wrong, not outwardly, not in any easily definable way. It was a feeling, a dissonance that vibrated beneath the surface of everything. Our online conversations had been effortless, a seamless flow of ideas and inside jokes. Here, in this unfamiliar place, she was a carefully constructed facade. ID booked a decent hotel in El Poblado, a tourist-friendly area. I wanted to make a good impression, to signal that I was serious. I spent hours researching restaurants, wanting to pick somewhere special, somewhere that spoke of thoughtful consideration. The place I settled on was a little upscale, with a courtyard lit by string lights and a menu featuring modern Colombian cuisine. I even ironed my shirt. I hadn't ironed a shirt in years. 8 p.m. Sharp she arrived. She looked like her photos, undeniably. The same long dark hair, the same high cheekbones, the same slightly melancholic eyes. But the life was missing. The easy laughter, the playful glint, the warmth that had permeated our video calls all vanished. I tried to bridge the gap. I made a point of complimenting her dress, something ID genuinely noticed. She offered a curt thank you. Small talk felt forced, like navigating a minefield. I tried to steer the conversation toward photography, our shared passion. She responded with short, factual answers, devoid of any enthusiasm. In the Uber, I tried to hold her hand casually to create some closeness. It felt like shaking hands with a corpse. There was zero response. She was completely stiff. That was my first clear okay. Something is wrong moment. Dinner was worse. I attempted humor, recounting a funny anecdote about a coding error ID made at work. She offered a polite, perfunctory chuckle. I asked her about her family, her life in Medellin. The answers were brief, generic. She barely asked me anything in return. It wasn't a conversation, it was an interrogation, and I was the subject. At one point, our faces were close, and I tried to give her a small, subtle kiss. She pulled away and told me to calm down. The words were soft, almost apologetic, but the effect was devastating. The distance just became more obvious after that. The food itself was excellent, a complex blend of flavors I should have been enjoying. Instead, I found myself hyper-aware of her facial expressions. She started complaining about the food, with a disgusting face, wrinkling her nose and making exaggerated chewing motions. It felt performative, like she was trying to elicit some kind of reaction from me. I paid the bill. No argument, no offer to split it, just an uncomfortable silence. We left without a word of thanks, and I felt a wave of something akin to shame. Not for anything I'd done, but for the sheer naivete of believing this could be real. Not wanting to end the night, they're clinging to some pathetic hope. I suggested going to a nice bar nearby. We stayed for about an hour and a half. The place was dimly lit, with live music and a sophisticated vibe. It felt a bit more bearable, although I still felt like I was forcing the whole situation. A waitress, overly friendly, came to our table and told us we were a cute couple. I wanted to crawl under the table. Isabella just smiled, a practiced, empty expression. Honestly, I felt like I was inhabiting a bizarre, theatrical production where I was the only one playing by the script. When we left, without me even asking, she said she was going home to sleep. That already felt pretty bad. We waited for her Uber, and before she left, I tried to kiss her again. This time, she pushed my face away with a pretty ugly, almost contemptuous expression. I pretended nothing happened. She left, told me to take care in that area, and I was left alone in Medellin at dawn, feeling like the biggest idiot of my life. The air tasted like diesel and regret. Dawn was breaking, painting the sky a bruised purple, and I was standing on a corner I didn't recognize, feeling utterly hollowed out. Just moments ago, ID leaned in. Stupid, I know. Desperate, maybe. ID wanted, needed some confirmation of something. Some spark. A flicker of what ID convinced myself was us. Shed recoiled. Not violently, not even with anger. Just dismissively. A little wave of her hand. A quick, almost bored flick of the wrist, and the space between us widened. "I'm tired," Shed said, her voice flat, devoid of any warmth. "I need to go home and sleep." Then, without another glance, Shed walked away, swallowed by the rising tide of morning commuters. Home, not our home, not the future ID been silently constructing in my head, brick by brick, message by message. Her home, a place I wasn't invited to, a place I clearly didn't belong. The humiliation crawled under my skin, a relentless itch I couldn't scratch. Every laugh, every shared joke, every late-night conversation that had felt so profoundly intimate, all of it felt like a carefully constructed lie now. I replayed snippets of our exchanges in my mind, searching for cracks in the facade, for warning signs ID ignored or, more likely, willfully misinterpreted. ID been so eager to believe, so starved for connection, that ID let her build a cathedral on a foundation of air. Back at the apartment, the silence was suffocating. I couldn't bring myself to unpack, couldn't even bring myself to shower. I just sat on the edge of the bed, staring at the chipped paint on the wall, feeling the weight of 1,000 unanswered questions. On a whim, a pathetic attempt to cling to something, anything, I sent her a few messages. Simple things, really. Hope you sleep well. Medellin is beautiful even at dawn. Thinking of you, she replied to the first. A curt good night. The second garnered a short, delayed acknowledgement it is. The third, nothing. Just the blinking cursor marking me. I knew coming here was a risk. A colossal, monumentally stupid risk, maybe. But I didn't expect it to feel like this. Like being exposed, stripped bare, and publicly ridiculed. Like realizing you've been narrating a story to an empty room. It's surreal, the whole thing. It's the kind of thing you read about happening to other people. The kind of thing you assume is only possible in badly written novels. But here I am, living it, existing within this strange, distorted reality where the woman I thought I knew doesn't exist. I'm still here. I have a few more days left in Medellin. I'll probably wander around, try to appreciate the vibrant culture, the stunning landscapes. I'll try to pretend that the emptiness inside me isn't a black hole threatening to swallow everything whole. I'll try to find something, anything, to hold onto. But right now, all I feel is profoundly, bone-deep lost, and more than a little angry. At her, yes, but mostly at myself. For believing, for hoping, for being so damn foolish.
Hello, I'm Dr. Julian Reed. Thank you for sharing this story with me. It takes courage to revisit experiences that were so emotionally charged, and I want to acknowledge that just for taking that step. What you've described is a deeply complex, and as you rightly point out, uncomfortable situation. It's clear you've been through a lot, and it's understandable that you're seeking understanding and perspective. The initial allure, the spark you felt over that photograph, isn't unusual at all. We all crave connection and finding a glimpse of beauty and shared interest, especially when feeling disconnected from our own environment. The gray skies of Seattle, as you mentioned, can be incredibly powerful. That image, that caption, became a symbol of something you were longing for: a refuge, a vibrancy, a connection. It's natural to project our own hopes and desires onto something that represents those things. It's human to seek out those pockets of light. What's particularly striking is the rapid intensity of the connection. 4 months of near-daily, multi-hour conversations is a significant investment of emotional energy, especially given your stated preference for carefully curated communication through text. You've recognized the irony of seeking control and predictability in a situation that inherently lacks both. This suggests a possible underlying vulnerability, perhaps a desire for a deeper connection than you were actively pursuing or allowing in your offline life. The fact that you were willing to rearrange your life around these interactions speaks volumes about the emotional significance you attach to it. And you're absolutely right to highlight the red flags. Those statements, "I want you to be mine," "I want you just for myself," are concerning, and it's very valid that they left you feeling uneasy. Your attempt to rationalize them as cultural differences, while a common coping mechanism, doesn't negate the discomfort they caused. It sounds like you were actively working to suppress those feelings, likely to preserve the fantasy You'd created. It's a protective mechanism, but ultimately, it prevented you from fully acknowledging the potential for unhealthy dynamics. Compartmentalizing is a skill many of us develop to manage difficult emotions, but it can also delay the processing of important information. The feeling of knowing someone you've only met online is a powerful illusion. We construct narratives about people based on curated information and the parts they choose to share. It's a carefully crafted performance, and it's easy to mistake that for genuine intimacy, especially when longing and vulnerability are involved. Your recognition of the dangerous part, that feeling of knowing someone you've never physically met, shows a level of self-awareness that's commendable. The betrayal you experienced, the discomfort you felt, it's not your fault. It's a consequence of a situation that was inherently precarious. You invested in a relationship built on a foundation of limited information and a significant degree of projection. It's completely understandable that you're feeling vulnerable and perhaps questioning your judgment. It's also important to remember that the discomfort you felt wasn't a sign of weakness or a personal failing, but a signal, a warning that something wasn't quite right. Let's talk more about the specifics of what happened when you met her. I want you to feel safe to share the details, and I want to validate the pain and confusion you're likely feeling. We can explore the patterns that drew you to this connection, the ways you protected the fantasy, and how you can move forward with a stronger sense of self and healthier boundaries.